Hi, y'all. All right. We are going to do a live stream today. We are going to talk about some really interesting subjects. One being what it is about this lady, Princella P. I keep saying Princella P. It is not. Her name is Princella Clark. They call her Pastor P. They call her Professor P. The female Kevin Samuels, all of those, but not Princella P. So I need to quit doing that. Forgive me. But I want to share what it is that initially got my attention with her. And before I go there, though, I wanna go to a little bit, about me historically. Is I challenge everything. Like, I have never just subscribed to the status quo. Hardly ever. That I'm just not built that way. I see things beyond what is actually there, or beyond. I call it the matrix, but now I don't even want to call it the matrix because the manosphere, which we're going to talk about, calls it the matrix, and I don't want to be calling it what they're calling it. But beyond this fishnet of agreements that somebody created, and we as a society in America have agreed with. And because we agree with it, then we begin to hold each other accountable to these agreements that none of us created. First off, none of us created those, nor do we have the power to change them. The only power we have is the power to decide for ourselves whether we are going to agree with them or not. And to be really clear on this, just because we don't agree doesn't mean we can withdraw. I mean, we've got to operate in society. We've got to operate in this world. We've got to have businesses and jobs and all of those things. So I'm not telling you to be totally resistant and go, sociopath on everybody. And I'm just not gonna, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is be cognizant of what's there for real, because it's not the fact that they exist that is the problem. The problem is the fact that we don't know the difference, or can't see the difference between these man-made created paradigms, which, in my opinion, are created to have us behave a certain way, to maintain or stay below a certain ceiling, maintain us in a certain environment and outside of another environment. So they're all created in it, and these sets of rules are at different levels, right? There's not like one set that applies to everybody. It's not. There's a set that applies to, certain ethnicities, races, nationalities, communities, genders, like there are a ton of them. So there's this whole fabric that's created by all these different agreements. And some of them, like I said, some of them we agree with and some of them we don't. The problem is, for most of us, we don't take the time to go through and identify the difference between what it is that I agree with and so this is something that someone made up, right? This is a rule that someone made up. So let me give you an example. The speed limit. Somebody made up in Texas on the highways that the speed limit was 55 when I learned to drive. So I studied the book, I did all that. And if you had asked me at that time, and they did when I passed my driver's test, what is the speed limit on, if there is not a posted speed limit, what is the speed limit on Texas highways? It's 55. So I put that on the questionnaire or the test, and I passed the test. I got on the road with my driving test and I passed the test. At that time, that was a fact. If I put that same answer on a driver's test today, that would be wrong, because the answer, I don't even know what it is, but I think it's 70. But whatever it is, it's not the same as it was then. And so the key thing about facts is that they change. Well, here's the thing. Most agreements in our lives are based on the fact at a point in time. So if we were taught these things, these are the rules. This is how it goes. This is illegal. This is immoral. This is whatever, though, unless it's nature, because nature can't be overruled. But unless it's that, if it's something that's written by man, that a man designed and a men voted for, and, and I'm saying men, that's men and women included, but in most cases, women weren't in the beginning. We weren't in the room when that conversation was happening. So we're going to leave it on men right now. So if it's something that men put in place, it can change. Not only can it change, but it can be accepted. So, okay, so let's just to go, I want to go to what brings me to start this live today and this conversation today. And it is going to go multiple places. It's not just going to stay with this, but I want to go into a little bit of what I started seeing after I got my divorce in 2016, my last divorce in 2016. One of the first relationships, and I think I did some videos back, years ago, about narcissism and whatever. One of the first relationships I got in after that was with a pretty extreme narcissist. And but then over time, whether it was me directly or friends or other people, I started seeing that what we described as narcissism was actually more common than the opposite, right? And so for me, I'm really big on studying behavior. So I watch, the Datelines and those shows, and then I watch the YouTube Real Life Crime, and and I watch that because I want to understand behavior and I want to learn how to protect myself, because I've been the victim over and over and over of sexual assault, physical assault, verbal assault, like every kind of assault. And so my question becomes and it was to a counselor at one point, why me? Like, do I have a sign that said, I'm going to get a massage every week. Everybody in the whole place knows me, but this new massage therapist is going to sexually assault me in the room. Like, is there, like, what made me, and so you wonder, and then after dealing with that and after going through that and trying to figure out what did I do wrong? This is where I went every single week for a massage for I don't know how many years until that happened. So much so that they knew me by name. And I pretty much had the same massage therapist. But this particular time, her name was Brittany. She worked the front desk. And she said, your person's out. But we have this great guy. Everybody loves him. Like, he is the best. His name was Moses. He is the best. He is the best. And I said, okay, sure. And I went. And the first time, so anyway, I don't want to get into all of it, but the first experience, this guy, he was a black, guy, and not to say that is a problem, but for me, typically, because I do tend to attract black men, I tend to not choose that for my massage therapist, just because I just think that's too tricky. Like, I'm attracted to black men. So if I'm going to massage somebody, I want to massage a woman, because I'm not attracted to women. Like, I'm not a massage therapist, but this is just how I think. That's how my brain works, right? So, but I didn't ask her that question. So I just took the appointment, went in there first time, very complimentary, very nice, very respectful. Made a couple of, complimentary comments about my body that made me uncomfortable, but thinking in my head, well, okay, we don't want to, this is every single time. What went in my head was, I don't want a profile. This person's just starting here. He came from the Crescent Hotel. I don't want this to be, I don't want to be racially profiling that, so I thought maybe you're being too touchy here. Well, at the end of the day, even though I was uncomfortable, I don't know if uncomfortable is the right word, but whatever it was that made me think something that then made me say, well, don't profile. So I guess discomfort, whatever it was. But went through the whole process of the massage. Great. One of the best massages I can say that I ever had. Excellent. So I see why he was hard to get into according to her and all of this stuff. Great massage. Next week, rescheduled him for the next week because my therapist was still out. The next time it went to a whole nother, like literally he undressed himself. So I put I had the little thing over my eyes for the massage, and then I'm feeling skin. What? So police were called, like whole episode. And what's really interesting is, and this, I was not planning to go here, but anyway, I just let things go because maybe someone needs to hear this. So the police were called. Of course, I couldn't even speak. So even as it was happening, one of the things that was asked up front, because the owner wasn't there. So as I was leaving the massage the massage MV location, I go to the front, and I was, there was no voice, nothing was coming out. So the ladies in the front came and was like, wait, and they took me in the office. Are you okay? What's going on? And I could not speak. And so I was crying, tears are coming, whatever. And I just said, go, just gotta go. So I left. And then when I got in the car, pulled off, got to a safe area, which was just a block away. I pulled at a post office, which was a block away that I was aware was there. I pulled in the parking lot and I called the police, called 911 and reported it at that time. So the police, told me to stay there and that they were sending a car and, and then, they did that. So they sent a car up there. And once they said, okay, the police are on site, you can go back. Then I went back to the massage MV, went inside, went in the office. By now the owner has been called. And of course the police is there, escorting the guy or whatever. He's already gone at this point. And the owner said to me, it was owned by an Asian couple. And it was said, and he said, well, what exactly happened? And I explained what happened. Now, mind you, I wasn't Flowers then, I was Williams. But this is Kedra Williams, who owns a CPA firm, who is on billboards throughout Dallas, who is known at this massage MB, because I've had, one of the things with fibromyalgia and the different things, I have to get regular massage. I now have one of those chair things at home where I don't have to go as often, but that in order to just be able to have basic continuous movement and comfortable without so much pain. And so they know me. And the owner said, well, what happened? And I told him. And he said, well, he said that you wanted it. Are you kidding me? Like, I was speechless. Like, oh my God. And then the next question was, well, why didn't you scream? Because, in Massage Envy, you got all these doors, you got all these places, why didn't you scream? Somebody would have heard you. And there is no way as a woman that you can explain to someone unless you can't explain it to even though I was going to say explain to a man, but it's not even about a man or a woman. You can't explain that to someone who hasn't been in that situation. You cannot explain that to someone who's never been in that situation. And this is not the first time So this is probably this was the last time, I think. Yeah, this is the last time I've actually been sexually assaulted, not the first time. So I learned later in therapy and counseling that the first time, which was under, this was single digit ages, right? At that point is when the screaming and the crying happened, and then someone said, "Shut up, you cry too much." And this is a person who is responsible for me, that I trust, and I think is not going to tell me something wrong. So then it became like my voice was snatched, because you're wrong to cry. You're wrong to come out of the room. You're wrong. And once someone says that, and then that was one time, then another time, then another time, and so it continues on. But what happened is the voice was snatched. So I couldn't speak. Not only could I not speak physically, but even mentally, I couldn't speak. So I'm trying to explain that. Doesn't make sense to them. Doesn't matter. He's worried about being sued. I hadn't even thought about that just yet, and so he's trying to figure out, well, what are you going to do? Well, we're just going to go and we're going to press charges and we're going to do whatever we need to do. So, of course, everything, that leaves or whatever. I end up contacting an attorney at some point, and same thing. Attorney, why didn't you scream? Why didn't you? Same thing. Males. Like, why didn't you? So basically the underlying message is, if you don't react correctly when you are being attacked, then it isn't really attack. You must have wanted it. It must have been okay, because he's a handsome, muscular bodybuilder, whatever, massage therapist. All the women want him. Oh, and at Massage Envy, let me just say, the owner said that a lot of women pay for that. It's called a happy ending. I had never heard of that, so I didn't know, and definitely didn't think Massage Envy would be a place you could have it. Like, I don't know. And I'm not saying you could. I don't know. I'm just telling you what was said to me. And so this is why they thought. Now, at that time, I'm so injured psychologically, I just wanted to go away. So I didn't file suit. I did press charges. Nothing ever came of it. And I found out years later that, and I think probably even now, but I found out years later when an associate of mine pointed out to me, like, the DA's office at that time had years and years and years and years worth of rape cases, rape data, assault cases, assault against women data, testing, never sent, nothing. So it was just like literally nothing being done on any of this stuff. So who was I to expect anything different? Especially in the situation where there really there wouldn't have been a DNA, maybe it would have. I don't know. I don't think there would have been a DNA whole thing. They did not run any of that because there was not actual intercourse, obviously. But anyway, and I probably didn't need to say that word, but sorry. But anyway, the point is, there was, even as a young child, a thought that my security and my protection comes from outside of myself. And in a lot of cases, I thought it was going to come from a man. So when I talk about multiple marriages and all of those things, it was me trying to find that protector, like that person who was going to be that protector for me. Because my dad had not been that protector for me. And, my grandfather passed away very young, but all of them, two of them, three of them, well, my one grandma was married twice. But anyway, they were all passed, right? And, but they did stay married till death. I will say that. But they were gone. And so there was not that. And I thought that protection was going to come from the men, whether it's the pastor, who later I found out it's not going to come from there. It's going to be a husband It's not going to come from there. So the reason I share this and the reason Princella spoke to me is because in all my searching and in all my learning and all my education for business, and the whole goal of my life was to obtain freedom. And I thought, you get a certain amount of money that was going to give you freedom. You accomplish these goals and get this education, you're going to get freedom. But it doesn't come from that. And not only that, and let me just say this, let me go back and start from here. The freedom that comes, that we get from God, that we were born with, that is a natural thing, that literally the way we were created, I do believe we were created in absolute abundance. And that is coming from God. The problem is that as soon as we're put in this world, we fall into this web of agreements. And there is an agreement amongst society as a whole, men as a whole, leadership as a whole, to make us believe something that's not true. That our protection is coming from men, that they are our protectors and they are our providers. And even though it's interesting because I saw a video recently that Princella did, and it's with, and I may show a clip of it. It's with Farrakhan, and on one he's saying, I don't care about your career. I don't care about your degrees. I don't care about any of that. If you ain't got no man, you are a failure as a woman. And society tries to say that. But then she shows another video, and I am going to show that here in just a second. Because then she shows another one right back to back that he's saying a whole nother message that he's doing to a flock of people who are believing this, is he says, oh, but, black women, you want love, but you can't find it in no man. You can't. It's only going to come from God. So that contradicts itself, right? And then, we wonder why we're confused. We wonder why we have to be in counseling for years and years in order to heal, or we never heal. And we keep searching for this male protector who keeps, in essence, becoming our predator, because we're looking to the predator for protection. We see it in the churches. We see it with in the Catholic Church, with the priests. The people we're looking to be our protector is actually our predator. We see it not just the Catholic, we see it in all the churches. We see it. If you look and you listen, and I don't want to go down that path right now, but I want to start with, do I want to start with this? I want to start with something else. 1 second. And then I'm going to come back to this. This is Kevin Samuels. Okay. And I remember when he was alive, and I had a really dear friend who I call my brother, who would always say to me, have you heard of Kevin? You need to listen. You need to listen. Oh man, he gets those women straight. You need to listen. And I'm thinking, why are you telling me? I'm thinking it's something positive. And maybe it was. I haven't, I haven't just studied him. I probably will do some live stuff, but this is what we deal with. So these are the people who, that men are listening to. And this is not actual Kevin's page. Let me see if I have something with his page, because this is a guy who's actually sharing. I may have to, hold on. Yeah, I'm just going to share this little piece of it. Just to give you a taste if you haven't heard of Kevin Samuels, because I want you to understand what we're up against and what we're dealing with as women. And if you think you are not, then that's why I want you to see this, because I actually do. If you stay with me, I want you to see what's out here. And I actually want you to say, well, that's not my husband. Now, my husband's not like that, or that's not my brother. That's not my whatever. I hope that that's what you can say. And that's initially what I was saying until, and then I had to be honest with myself and realize, no, this is what you're seeing. Like this is what you're seeing, even in your loved ones. And it's not to say that means you can't, deal with men or whatever. I personally decided to stop dating men in any capacity. After understanding and getting a better understanding, it's no different than if I understand if I read the Willie Lynch letter, which I have multiple times, then I don't deal with colorism. If someone is there, they're not in my circle anymore. I stopped with Princella. I stopped dealing with women who are competing one with another, women who can't see other women hurting and care. Which even before I met Princella or dealt with her or talked to her or heard of her, I was that way. I've cut people off just on saying Krishan Rock is, a bad influence and she's just da 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 da. Like, this is someone who's injured. And if you can't see that, then we're not the same. And I posted that everywhere. But anyway, okay, so let's see what we're talking about here.
Whatever it is, ladies, it ain't working. And the net result of it is you become a party of one. Mark. Danger zone. 27 to 35, when a woman needs to focus like a laser on the outcome she wants as far as relationships. But when you ask women who are in their mid to late 30s, even in their early 40s, who are boss chicks, bad chicks, got my money together, I got my master's.
I'm a PhD.
Got my master's, but can you cook?
I don't need a cookbook.
Yeah, they got their PhD and everything else. They don't have a cookbook, but they damn sure do have a doctorate. All right, what is the one thing you tend to hear? Some sort of, well, I'm doing what I'm doing right now, and I'm in a waiting position. I'm waiting for God to send that man to me. I'm holding out. So I'm going to go nam nam yurenga toyo maka boka baba maka lena till that man comes along. Why are so many modern women holding out? What are you holding out for? Whatever it is, ladies, it ain't working. And the net result of it is you become a party of one. Modern woman, party of one. Your table's ready.
Okay, so as if this is not a good thing. Now, I'll tell you, the original thinking of mine was that's not a good thing. That's why I needed to keep that husband. I didn't want to be a party one. Now, I never had a problem going somewhere by myself. I travel by myself. I do my stuff by myself. So I never had a problem doing that. But I used to, my thing was, I don't want to retire at 65 and be by myself. I don't want to be 70. I saw my grandma, and I worried about her. And that was because her husband had passed, right? Both of them. Both of my grandfathers had passed. So I saw my grandmothers be in that situation. And so I didn't want to be alone or threatened. Why? Because we are taught as women that we need protection, and that man is that protection. So when we lost my grandfather, I would be up at night calling my grandmother. I would have dreams something happened to her. I'd wake up in sweats and nightmares because the protector is gone, right? And so men know this. This is part of what what we were taught even coming up. And one of the things I said, I'm going to ask ChatGPT about that. So let's just go really quick to what it said there. I'm going to read. I asked ChatGPT 4, right? I said, where did the original concept of men being women's protectors come from? And it said, the concept that men are supposed to be protectors of women is deeply embedded in many cultures and has complex historical, biological, and socio-cultural roots. Here are some contributing factors. Biological factors. Physical differences. Men are generally larger and stronger than women due to biological differences. This physical disparity has often been cited as a reason for men to assume roles that require physical strength, including protecting women. Division of labor. In prehistoric times, the division of labor usually had men hunting and women gathering. This division was not arbitrary, but was based on optimizing the survival chances of the group. As hunters, men faced danger more often and thus evolved into the role of protectors. Okay. Now, mind you, where is this information coming from? So this is ChatGPT, right? So ChatGPT is searching data or facts that are available online on the internet. Okay. So understand what it's finding and what it's pulling are agreements, right? Are facts that are as of a certain period of time. And in most cases, almost this mutually agreed upon human thing, not so much a natural or nature or God thing, right? These are parts of human agreements as to the facts of why men are the protectors of women. Okay, so cultural factors. Chivalry. In medieval Europe, the code of chivalry emphasized the knight's duty to protect those who could not defend themselves, particularly women and children. So once again, the protectors of women and children. Religious texts. Many religious texts, including the Bible and the Quran, suggest that men have a duty to protect women, although interpretations can vary. Well, I would say they vary from the men, because I don't know that what we are seeing are men protect. Even, hopefully it's more prevalent in married men, but from my view and my perspective, I haven't seen it. And now, wait, I'm not saying my husbands didn't protect me physically. They protected me in that way. I'm saying looking outward, right? Okay, so because remember, inside the house, there is a thing that we all see as family because we see all that. But then outside the house is a different view. So if I see, to me, in my mind, if I see your husband with someone else, then he's not protecting you in that moment, right? Because you're exposed wherever you are and he's over here. And so that's what I mean. So social factors, war and conflict. Historically, during times of war, men were often the ones who fought to protect their homes and families, reinforcing the idea that men are protectors. So again, we're constantly being bombarded and watching the media, watching the TV, watching all these things, especially like watching news, which I don't, unless I'm going looking for something specific, I'll search it on YouTube. I don't watch it because that's where a lot of that, if you watch something over and over and over and over, it becomes truth to you. And that doesn't mean it is. It just looks to be true. Familiarity breeds trust. Familiarity breeds trust. You see something enough times, you trust it. You think it's normal. You think it's natural if you see it enough times. And we've all seen that in a lot of the stuff that we see with relationships and all the kind of stuff that's on TV. Like what's normal now would not have been when we were growing up, right? That doesn't mean it's not about right or wrong, because I try not to deal in rights or wrong, because again, those are just agreements. So it's not about that, but it is about familiarity. Continuing to see the same things, continuing to see different things makes it more normal or normalized. Okay. Legal systems. Okay, wait a minute. I'm sorry. So we talked about, social factors, we talked about war and conflict, legal systems. In some societies, laws have been written to emphasize the role of man as protectors, sometimes even requiring it as a legal obligation. And then socialization. Cultural norms and values are reinforced through education and socialization, which is what we're talking about, often teaching boys and girls their expected roles within society, which may include the idea that men are supposed to protect women. But if we go back even to grade school, the boys are the one attacking the girls, pushing them down, tripping them, knocking over their drinks. It's never been a reality. It's been a delusion the entire time. And so if you keep being reinforced with something, I remember there was a guy on our street. He lived up the street. I think he might have been some kind of way related, but when you're growing up in the Black community, everybody's related. So you don't know if you're really related or you're just related because you're from the same neighborhood. But he would torture us, the girls, mentally. He would torture us mentally. He would make us fight. He would push us into situations. And I couldn't fight when I was really young. I couldn't fight. So I would get beat up. My best friend, Lisa Pay. And he would make Lisa beat me up because I couldn't fight. And then I learned to fight. Then I fought everybody. Then I became the bully or whatever. I had to now go to counseling to unbullify. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's those kinds of things. And these are men because they don't have shit else to do but just harass and just keep chaos going. And I've always seen it, but I didn't. Because I was in this delusion, like, no, men are our protectors. That's who's going to protect. And even with this particular person, I'm not going to say his name. I mean, I still love you. But it begins with an R. At the end of the day, I mean, he would create so much chaos. He would have us fighting. He would have the girl. It was another lady down the street. He would just keep chaos constantly going. But weirdly enough, if I was at school or at somewhere and somebody was messing with me, he's going to come, he's going to jump. That's my cousin. You leave her alone. So you see how can you not be confused? Like, this is like the life that, that I lived. This is what, and so then you wonder, like, why we need counseling, why we need, but this is why. So anyway, now let's get to the intersection with patriarchy. Now, again, I'm just going to read what ChatGPT says. Because here's the thing. What I would wish for everybody and anybody who's listening to this, the delivery may be different, but if you go to the High Power podcast with Princella, the Queenmaker, she will break it down and she's going to pull the research. She's going to pull the studies. She's going to pull the evidence and she can teach you this. And she has the receipts. So I'm not going to try to go research what's already been done. But what I am going to do is share my story because that may reach a different group of people who might not naturally land on her channel. And the only way that they will land there is by hearing it here and then go, who is this person? Right? And so, hold on one second. Alexa, stop. Sorry, Alexa. So I'm going to share my piece of it, but what I would wish is that you would go and I'm going to share, a piece of her video and what got my attention as part of this streaming session. We're going to take a break here in just a second, and then I'm going to play. There's a great violinist. It's just like a minute or two. I want to play her stuff. Go follow. I like to support other women that are out here and let us know what's out there. There's some great things on YouTube. And if you're going to spend time doing something else, as far as like watching something or whatever, this is a way better place than the news. I'll tell you that. Anyway, the intersection with patriarchy. So it's worth noting that the concept of men as protectors is deeply tied to patriarchal systems, where men hold primary power and predominant roles of political leadership, moral authority, social privilege, and control of property. In these systems, which these are the systems that we're dealing with in America. These are the religious systems. These are all of the systems that we interact with. In these systems, the idea of men as protectors can be used to justify male dominance and limit opportunities for women. Okay. And then, modern interpretations today, the idea is being scrutinized and reevaluated, especially in the context of gender equality. While physical protection in dangerous situations may still be a realistic concern, I will say that if I went myself and tried to go, okay, what dangerous situations would I need a protector from? Well, if somebody comes in the house, which is usually a man. So I need a protector to protect me from men. But what has happened and what I've seen over and over and over in my life, I get the protector, which is the man who is the husband. And guess what's next? I need the protection from him. And it's just the ones you choose. Lies. You might want to believe that. And that's fine if you haven't experienced it. Just keep that energy and keep watching. The only way, and I'm not saying physically, I'm saying mentally, I'm saying emotionally, I'm saying just in your whole self-concept of who you are. Just keep watching, keep living. My grandmother used to say, keep living. Okay, so anyway, so while physical protection in dangerous situations may still be a realistic concern, the notion that men are inherently protective of women is increasingly seen as outdated by many people who argue for equal partnership and shared responsibility in relationship. I'm not necessarily In summary, the idea that men are protectors of women arises from a complex interplay of biological, cultural, and social factors and is deeply rooted in the history of many societies around the world. So this is from ChatGPT, which is an interesting thing. But let's go back. We're going to go back to the Kevin Samuels post, and I'm going to post that, and I'm going to let you guys watch a little bit more of that, and then I'm going to come back and interject some more.
What do you mean a party of one? A party of one. They become a party of one. Because as your friends who actually decided, you know what, I'm going to be a teacher or an accountant or whatever, I'm not going to make enough money to pay for my life, my property, my retirement and everything else. I'm not going to be able to fund my retirement. So I'm going to partner with somebody else, and we're just going to try to make this thing work. Now, you got so many women who, just because they went to college, figure out it raises their value, especially this group.
I'm a PhD.
I had my ladies' focus group the other day, and the themes continue to kind of play out, interesting conversation, interesting questions. But one thing over and over, I'm not going to settle. I became this woman over here, therefore I deserve this man over here. Well, ladies, like I tell every one of you, men don't care about what you have. We care about who you are. And your master's, your PhD, your property, your car, whatever, is not what men choose on. But see, here's the problem. Women will continue to talk to each other, hype their head up, blow their head up, let women say, well, girl, you shouldn't wait. You should do this. You should do that. The guy you're with right now, he's a good guy, but you know what? You don't settle for him. What happened to that lawyer you were dating 3 years ago? What happened? You used to could date guys on this level. Why are you going to get with this guy who's give him a title, third shift at the plant? Why are you going to get with this guy who's a firefighter when back in college you was pulling this and that? Women judge from the highest man they were ever able to deal with. And deal with means simply this. He showed her some attention. Possibly gave her some sex, and she thought that automatically adjusted her level. That's why I'm starting to see hellified basic chicks, hellified basic from the way they look, talking about, I'm not going to settle for a broke man. I want a rich man. I want this lifestyle. And I'm like, you do realize you can set whatever price you want to in the market. That's your choice. But you do realize the market, like YouTube, like Instagram, the market is like YouTube and Instagram. Anybody can get a YouTube channel. Anybody can create an Instagram channel. Anybody can go to YouTube, create a channel, and post content. But that's because you have a YouTube channel don't mean somebody's going to watch it, don't mean you're going to get a following. Everybody who's watching right now has a YouTube channel or Instagram channel, but every one of you ain't making money on this stuff and in a business or whatever. Why? But this is the market. So Women think because they can create a YouTube channel or an Instagram channel, because they can be in the market, they can determine they can have success in the market. The market lets anybody in, but the market gets to decide what success is. So all these women talking about they're going to hold out this and that, they cannot produce the outcome they say they want, and they don't want to settle for lower, so they're just going to hold out and wait. Party of one. Sad Chick, party of one. Ebony the Attorney, party of one. Marsha the Marketer, party of one. Nancy the Nurse, party of one. Or the PhD or the doctor. Hey, Rita the Realtor, party of one. Christine the Creative, party of one. Erica the Entrepreneur, party of one. Party of one. And one thing you're going to recognize is all these party of one women share one thing in common. They share one thing in common for sure. You've heard of the 7 deadly sins? I'm going to start talking about the 7 deadly sins or the 7 deadly curses for modern women. And one of them is a lack of humility. A lack of humility. Most modern women are too...
You are most welcome to my YouTube channel. Kindly subscribe to Mulinda Henry if at all this is the first time here.
Okay. Yeah, I should have stopped that before. I'm sorry. Yeah. Anyway, so here is the problem, and I'm not going to give this a lot of energy. This is actually really mild compared to the other things that I've seen. And this, like I said, this was probably not the one initially I was going to show, because he definitely has, on his channel, if we just put on one, and I'm not going to play this, but I'm just going to show. This is the one that probably I should have shown. But this is his Kevin Samuels channel. And here's the point I want to make. 1.77 million subscribers. The point I'm trying to make is this is what men are listening to. And so if you don't know what they're listening to, and you don't understand that there is this manosphere out here that is teaching men how to abuse women, and at the same time, there is this teaching that's happening in religious institutions, in the church and in the temples and in all of these places, that the man is your protector. So basically, you are being set up as the prey to be abused. And you have to know. And I wish YouTube were available when I was growing up, because a lot of things was due to that one agreement, that because you don't have to believe that the male is your protector. That's not something that we have to believe, but we do, because our parents believed it. We taught it. The church believes it. It's shown in the Bible. It's shown all this stuff. So we believe that stuff. But it is now that this information is available to get out and start understanding what you're dealing with. Protect your daughters, protect your kids, your grandkids, granddaughters, protect yourself. I almost choked. Thank you, God. God was like, wait a minute, you misstated that. Because you still need to protect your sons. Because these are predators. So it's not just gender specific. There are predators out here that are put in places, given leadership roles, and we are entrusting our kids to, that are following this. So let's just listen now that I've gotten all choked up. I'm going to share. I do need to share, because I really wanted you to get a piece of Kevin Samuels and a piece of Andrew Tate, if we could get there. But we'll just look at Kevin. We won't hit Andrew today. So, and the manosphere. And some of you may not have heard of the manosphere. But let's listen to a little bit of what Kevin's talking about.
35 years old and you're a business owner. And what's your question?
My issue is, I want to know at what point when I'm just meeting a guy, do I tell him that I'm a business owner? Because my problem is that when I try to date down and the conversation comes up to where I own a business, the guy is either like, hey, can I come join in on you on that business? Or can I put some money and be a business partner? And I'm not looking for
so
that.
True.
And I honestly...
Hold on. I need to be clear on this subject. Where are you?
Oh, and we just got the end of that, but that is true. That is true. And one of the things that is in the 41 Shades of Men, which is the book that Princella Clark wrote, is the fact that there is always a goal. Like there's something that they need that you can provide, and that is the attachment. Okay, so I need a place to stay. You have one. I need a car. You have one. I need a job. You have one. Like, so I need money. You have some. Like they're not, so it's not like, it's very interesting because it's not like they go, like in the olden days, like we're taught to think it happens. Like, okay, they go out, they get their money, and then they bring you, hey, let's go to dinner. Da, da, da. No, they're looking to you to supplement what they have, which is totally different than how I was taught growing up that it should work. It's totally different. But I made an exception because I was so, I guess you could call it pro-black or, whatever, that I understood that the playing field isn't necessarily equal for black men and black women. So because it's a lot easier for black women to get into some corporate doors because those doors are closed to black men because of inherent threat, right, that the people in power, the majority, feel towards black men, it's harder for them to get in the higher level roles, right? That's what I've seen in my 30-year career. Now, that's what I've seen. And so because that's what I kind of subscribed to, that was an agreement that I thought was okay. It was okay if I make more money. I'm not worried about that. And when we put it together, it's ours. That's how I felt. And that's how I felt. But in reality, when you look at the black men, and this is what I want to see what he's gonna say, but in some things that I've seen Kevin say before, and what he was kind of saying in that last video is when they are the attorney and they are the CEO and they are the business owner, they don't want you. They want someone that is exotic, someone that is going to shut up, be quiet, do what they say, and and maybe not, work or not, but do whatever it is that they need. If they need a house cleaner, then that's what they want you to be able to do. If they need a, whatever. So anyway, but let's see what Kevin's going to say here.
Where are you at?
North Carolina.
And you're saying when to tell somebody you own a business?
Because I find when I date down, guys see an interest and want to be like a business partner, and I'm learning that maybe I need a high value man because that's what.
Well, first off, ma'am, I really don't understand. What kind of man are you talking about? Because owning a business is no different than having a job, in my opinion. And I'm not getting what you're saying. When should you? I'm not understanding why this is an issue. If you're, what kind of men are you? What kind of men are you dating?
I try to give guys that not a chance.
You try to do what?
I try to give guys that's not on my level a chance.
Why? What do you mean on your level? What does that mean?
That's making 6 figures or more.
But I don't okay. You try to give guys who are not on your level a chance. Why?
And because I honestly want a 6-figure guy. Is what I'm realizing.
Okay, so let me just go ahead and net it out for you. You ready? The guys you want aren't asking you out.
Well, I haven't been putting myself out there, honestly.
but you put yourself out there enough for the guys you don't want or beneath you to ask you out.
Those are like guys I met online.
Right. So, again, the men you want are not asking you out. See, you ladies do this. You go and deal with men who you feel are beneath you, and then you ask how to fix them. I'm not beneath you. I don't know how to fix a guy that's down there. That's not my concern. The better question is, why can't you get a guy on your level? That's the real question. Well, first of all, I would tell you what I said in here automatically is a problem. Why you would come onto a show that you know is a disagreement day? It's selfish. It's like, well, yes, ma'am. It's like, I want what I want. I don't say things for no reason. That's why I asked you questions. You're 35 years old, a business owner. That means you understand what business is, and you know this is a business. And I have a show title, and you said, "Damn your show title! I want to talk to you." But you could have went to my business and booked time to talk to me. But you wanted what you wanted, how you wanted.
I'm sorry.
No, and I'm using this as a lesson. That's the problem with too many of you black women. You don't do shit the right way with black men. That was improper. And when I told you the right way, you still were like, well, whatever. So I'm gonna use this. When was the last time you had a relationship?
Like the end of last year around December.
How long did it last?
A year.
A year? And was that man, did you go to college?
Did I go to college?
Yes.
No, sir.
Okay, and how long have you owned your own business?
9 years.
And how long have you been making six figures or more?
The last 3.
Okay, why do you need a man making six figures?
Because I'm finding out that the guys that I date, it's not working out.
What does that have to do with money?
Because I feel like I need a guy that I can respect and admire, and I'm ambition, and I want a guy that has that drive too. And when he doesn't, I find myself, encouraging like, "Hey, babe, you can do this and you can do that." And then,
all right, so in North Carolina, what percentage of the population, what percentage of men in this country make six figures or more?
I think it's like 5%. I'm not
closer to 10. So, 10%. All right. So the question is, what do those men who make that kind of money, who all women tend to want, what do they want?
I feel like they want arm candy, somebody who can have more to bring to the table than just looks, but also bring balance to their life. I feel like I can help them out on.
Okay, slow down. I'm not understanding. You said they want arm candy, then you contradicted yourself. They want somebody that more than just looks.
Yeah, arm candy, but something behind, bring with it, and more in depth.
Do you know any men who make six figures or more?
My dad and my uncle.
Do you know any men that you are related to that make six figures or more?
Unrelated to? Yeah,
men that you are not related to.
Not on a personal level.
So you don't know them. You don't know what they want, but you want him. Ma'am, I'm going to suggest that you really don't know what you want. And saying six figures is just something that you get taken from out there. But I'm not hearing this rooted to any.
Okay, stopping. Okay, we're going on to Princella now because I want to hear, the real of what she's bringing, because I can't with Mr. Kevin Samuels. So again, for those of you who might have just tuned in, I am streaming about whether men are really our protectors or are they our predators. And oftentimes we think they're the protector and they ultimately end up being the predator. And so when I heard of Princella, the first video first video I ran across was this, and I shared it with everybody. And so I want to walk through and share what I saw that got my attention, that had me start binging and learning and committing to educate myself on protecting myself from predators. And so let's just let her start. She's gonna do it. We can
clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. Yeah, 3 stars, man. We got in the building, man. Goddamn it, Princella. Also known as the Queenmaker. And for the purpose of this interview, we're gonna call you Auntie, because you went on Fresh and Fit and just had a ball over there. And
man, I had a blast over there.
Man, first and foremost, I want to start off by just wishing you a happy Mother's Day. It just passed. How was your Mother's Day, first and foremost?
Oh man, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. I got a chance to spend time with my daughter, and I got to do it out here in Dallas, so I'm excited about that.
There you go. There you go. So off the rip, man, I got to ask you, do you feel a Mother's Day is revered and a Father's Day is feared in the Black community?
I wouldn't say feared for Father's Day. I will say Mother's Day is revered. Mothers are typically always revered. And so what can you do but continue a pattern that you had your whole life?
That's true, that's true.
Yeah.
Do you feel like Black men just in general get scared when Father's Day come around?
Do they get scared? Because a lot of them, because they know they ain't in their child life. So of course they're going to get scared.
It's funny because I was having this conversation with somebody and I was like, man, Mother's Day is such a special thing in the Black community. We respect it so much, but I do know a lot of guys who would probably turn their phone off during Father's Day to not get whatever backlash, because a man can do everything what he feels is good for a child, but for some reason we just get graded differently, I feel, when it comes to Father's Day. Like, man, they'll treat your last week like your last year. And when I say they, I mean as women or the mothers. Mm-hmm. They'll treat it like you just been fucked up all year. I'm like, it might have been a bad week. It come leading up to Father's Day. And then it's like, man, we get no love with the kid. And then told the kids not to give us none. Do you feel that's a thing that happens in our community, or am I off
base? It's a lot, it's a lot of things that happen in the community, but a lot of times people pick and choose what they want to run with. So I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the saying, well, all you need to do is be present. That was a thing. That was a thing. Being present, that's basically bare minimum. So when it comes to Father's Day, expect the bare minimum. If you run with it, just be present idea. You know what I mean?
Just be present. Yeah. That's true. That was a stigma for a long time. Yeah. I want to do like this, man. For those that are deaf, dumb, stupid, living under a rock, man, I want you to reintroduce yourself. Tell us where you're from. Like, where you?
Oh, I'm originally from Shreveport, Louisiana. I grew up there, and then I moved out to Houston back in 2012, so I've been out there for a while.
You have brothers and sisters?
I got one brother.
One brother. Mm-hmm. And I'm just curious, did you grow up in a 2-parent household, or just only mother, only father?
My dad was military, so we all lived together up until 93, and then he went his way out of the country. He went out to sea several times, so I was with my mom. He left us out here in Shreveport when we moved from South Carolina. So it's been with me, my mom, and our extended family since then.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So, I got to shout out, people like Genesis and stuff like that as far as putting me on game to you. Yeah. Let me know who you are. I did my research. I did, some surface level. So I didn't go deep as, I could have went. But right. I said surface level. I said, oh, she's interesting. She's interesting. So I got to ask you off the rip, before we get started, do you hate men in a general term? No, I don't hate men. But you know what? Men think it's man hate because they hear women speak about their nature. And when they see the mirror in front of themselves, the reality is they hate what they see in the mirror, so they project it off on me. Because I ain't saying nothing different than what men say behind closed doors amongst themselves. I mean, I've been in groups with males my whole life. I know how they talk.
They just don't like to hear what I'm saying come from a woman. That's it.
Okay. So I gotta ask,
I'm just going to interject. That is so true. And I remember even before, with my son, I would take him to the barbershop because his dad lived in a different state at the time. We were divorced. And there were men in there that would, they knew I'd been married and divorced and, oh, you're a man eater, because of the type of car I drove or whatever their reasoning was. Didn't even know me, but just because I didn't stay or whatever. And so, And the threat that Princella brings is that she is educating women so that we are no longer having to be preyed. We are not sitting there quietly waiting to be preyed upon so that someone will marry us and enslave us so we can cook and clean, deny our dreams, deny the things that we want in our life. Individually deny our separate pursuits unless it benefits them. Now you can do all those things as long as you're paying the bills and you're paying the, doing all this stuff so that I can go do my life, right? That works for this new age man. And so, but anyway, let's keep going.
Again, you might have, people might know your journey, but we're learning as we go. How experienced are you with men? Like, how many serious relationships have you been in, if any? How long did they last?
Well, I was married. I got married in 2017. Me and my daughter's father co-parent. Prior to that, maybe I've had 3 or 4 relationships. My first relationship was a pretty solid relationship. And that was when my first boyfriend was at 19 years old. So I haven't been around the block in that terms, but to know men, it's not just about romantic relationships. It's about friendships. It's about working with them. So when I was selling cars, first of all, I've been in the military for 8 years.
There you go. Thank you.
I sold cars for 3.5 years. I played basketball. I played street football. I did the whole 9 yards. So I have a wisdom on men that the average woman don't have. 2 of my friends were pimps.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so, I grew up a tomboy. So most of my friends have been male. I had very few female friends. So I know more about male psychology from being around them and being friends with them than I have with just relationships. I have a 360-degree understanding of men.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into it then, man. I want this to be a healthy conversation. I've seen you kind of go back and forth with some people that might want to overtalk you, and I'm like, no, I want you to get your stuff out because I'm interested in the psychology of of this conversation. Some people have called you the female Charleston White, as for the outspokenness. Mm-hmm. I've even of course looking at the content, I said, okay, this is more like a female Kevin Samuels as far as just some of the things you lead with. Would you say that's partially true for either one of those names?
Actually, yes, because here's the thing. Truth is all-encompassing, right? And I don't pick and choose. So when you hear certain things, what you're hearing, because Kevin Samuels didn't straight up tell no lies, and Charleston White don't either. So the thing is, you're hearing half-truths come from the male perspective. When a woman is telling the whole truth, you're kind of going to hear some of the male perspective coming in, but you're going to now add the woman's perspective. So yeah, you're going to hear some Kevin Samuels in me. You're going to hear some Charleston White in me. You're going to hear a bunch of males in me because I'm actually out here telling the truth.
Okay, let's get to it. All right, well, let's get some backstory. First and foremost, I'm curious, are you religious at all? And if so, do you believe in the Adam and Eve storyline as far as man, woman, how that, came about?
No, I'm not religious. I grew up Baptist, and then I got out of it around 19 years old because I read the Bible for myself, and I realized it's some BS, right? And so,
discrepancies.
Yeah. But then when you get into the Adam and Eve story, that's also BS too, because
come on. What makes that BS?
What makes that BS is this idea that the nature of the woman was deceptive, right? And that she went against God's plan or whatever. That whole thing is a farce, right? And so because the Adam and Eve story is put out from the male point of view, what people forget is that Eve was cursed to be under a man. That wasn't the natural part of it. So this whole thing, the way that they push it is that the woman's natural place is to be under a man and supporting him and being his helpmeet, when they're not understanding that God, quote unquote, cursed Eve, which is total BS also, but that's the narrative that is more accurate to describe today where women are.
So the curse, quote unquote.
Yes.
What would you say the curse is? Like
to be under men.
Just to be under.
To be under men and subjugated to them. That's
So
the curse.
Okay, let's start with this as far as they always say what comes first, the chicken or the egg.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that man came first?
No.
Do you believe that woman came first?
Yeah.
And it gave birth to a man?
I mean, that's evident in all of nature, right? The sperm can't do anything without the egg. And when you look into nature, the fact of the matter is the Y chromosome is a degenerate X, right? It's a degenerate X. Man comes from woman, right? Nobody wants to agree to that because the male's ego is at stake. So of course he wants to believe that the Y chromosome came first, but there is no traces of Y in woman, but there's a trace of an X in man. I mean, that's just as basic as it can get.
So you're saying all men technically, in just scientific in nature, when it's firstborn women and they're changed to men or boys, whatever, versus boys changing to women based on the X and Y chromosome.
The determining factor that makes you male is the SRY gene. Without if there was a mutation on the SRY, do you know that you would be a female with the XY? If there was a issue with your SRY gene? Yeah, that's the only thing that determines your maleness. Everything else comes from the female.
We're going to be jumping all over the place because I just,
Well, and here's the point. And this is the thing. And this is why I'm very careful to when I share, because sometimes I feel guilty. I'm like, I'm sharing a whole video instead of, like re-paraphrasing, because I learned my whole life. You paraphrase, you don't just share it a whole. But that's why I'm sharing. Well, actually, I should be sharing it from her page, because her podcast is the High Powered Podcast. So if you're going to follow her and find more about her, either search the Queenmaker, Princella Clark, or PrincellaTheQueenmaker.com, or the High Powered Podcast, not RealLyfe Productions, right? But she's tagged in there, so you can actually go find her. But the point is, it's difficult, and nor would I even try to share her teaching other than let her tell you, because she's done the research. She has the receipts, and in her membership programs and in the programs that she does where she's doing direct teaching, she shows those receipts. So she knows her stuff.
One question might open up another, and we're going to be all over the place. So I'm curious, your thoughts when it does say a man who says, man, I was born a woman. Mm-hmm. And, unfortunately, I have the body parts of a man, but I was born a woman. And vice versa, women who are they're born men. Do you feel like that's something they're born, or is that a trait that is learned or comes over time?
Well, we can never eradicate the power of social engineering and programming, because by 24 weeks, a child is able to pick up the voices and language patterns of the parent, right? So the child is already being programmed before they even come out of the womb, right? So in this society where we're going, it's jacked up, right? It's real jacked up. And then with estrogen being put in all of the different foods and the water, a lot of things are going on. So yes, a person can be born with some issues dealing with their body and who they believe that they are. But all of that is rooted in a bunch of lies that they assimilate to when they get out into this world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that goes back to what I was saying at the beginning of this broadcast about agreements. Because you're born into these social agreements that says if you're a boy, you like blue and you like trucks and you like this and you like that. And if you're a girl, you like pink and you like Barbie and you like nail color or whatever. Those are social agreements. Those are social rules, that somebody agreed on and said, this is how you're going to be defined. So if I'm a female and I like blue, or I like trucks, or I like this, then now I'm masculine. And so that's what we're dealing with. And I just think this education is really going to help a lot of us to become free in understanding that we don't have to subscribe to these agreements. Now, we are being altered also naturally by foods and hormones, and that's a whole nother thing, and I will be sharing about those things as well. So the things that I like to watch are things that are pulling us as women, as people, as parents, as grandparents forward towards freedom and away from slavery. And if you remember, in slavery, one of the biggest things that was kept from us, maybe we didn't have the best food, so we did the best of what we had with chitlins and hog mogs and whatever we did. But the biggest thing that was kept from us is information. That's the biggest thing that was kept from us, is information. And now we have access to the information. But for so many, I think it might be too late, because we're so mentally enslaved already that we resist it. We don't even want to hear it because it doesn't say that. That's not what I learned at church. That's not what I learned. Do you understand these institutions were put in place to have you behave a certain way and stay in a certain position? And it works for a certain group of people. It does. And I'm not saying that you have to change your life. Just because you have the information doesn't mean you have to do anything different. Doesn't mean you have to do anything different. It's difficult not to, but it doesn't mean you have to. And so that's something I just want to make sure that I throw that in there.
I like that. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a lot. So now back to what you were saying as far as, the curse of a woman coming under a man. Do you feel it is the other way around, to where a man comes under a woman? And this is just based on nature. That the woman is technically, I don't want to say superior, but is the frontal being, and then the man comes under that.
That's the true pattern. That's the true way. The fact of the matter is, if everything was in its natural order, women would have the power to reject the majority of males. The majority of males pursue women. That's the natural order. And he doesn't get to choose who he gets to pass his genes through. The female gets to choose without law and law enforcement telling her she has to not deny a male sex and all of this stuff. The male comes under her. If you don't allow the male to be governed by the woman and you put him on top, you have chaos and corruption.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm curious. Do you feel, and we're just hypotheticals, correct? A world with no men, all women, versus a world with all men, no women.
Okay.
Who do you feel progresses faster and survives longer in that scenario?
The female. The female will always survive, right? Because feminine energy is an everlasting energy. Masculine energy is a temporary energy that you call. So let's look at motivation. Motivation typically comes from anger, which is all masculine. That don't last long, right? Once you're not angry anymore, your motivation kind of dissipates. So you have to keep finding external things to keep making you mad in order to push you. Inspiration is a feminine concept, which lasts longer, right? So femininity is a longer lasting, less chaotic energy. If you put males all in one environment without women, what you're going to find out is what happens in jail. They're going to be raw dogging each other. They're going to be fighting each other, breaking off into gangs. That's how males operate. You put females, they're not going to do much of anything, any harm, but you're not going to have such, what we have here is a matrix where you now have to worry about fighting against AI in your life, you wouldn't have that. So there's a happy medium with masculine energy and progression and being able to be controlled with feminine energy. So it's a deep conversation, right? It goes very deep. So what I'm saying is the amount of men that you have is too great. I'm not saying no men, but if you breeding dogs, how many male dogs do you put in a litter with females? You ain't putting 5 male dogs with 5 females. That ain't how you do it. The amount of male to female ratio is supposed to be a lot lower than what it is. But the problem is you got everybody being able to procreate. And how did that happen? Through patriarchy, stripping women's rights away and saying one man to every woman, giving every male a woman that they wouldn't have under natural circumstances.
Would you say there's a lot of masculine females nowadays, though?
Of course. But we have to know what masculinity is, and we have to know what we're talking about. What we're talking about is women are operating like men or like the male, but how? Through patriarchal programming. Everything that we live in, this entire system, is run by men's philosophies. If we understand philosophy and how psychology is programmed, you understand that your behavioral patterns are based on your philosophies that you hold. Well, all of the philosophies that we live under in the patriarchal system are all male-dominated. Capitalism comes from male nature. Consumerism comes from male nature. This whole patriarchal hierarchy is male nature. So everybody, including women, are operating like males. Women are not acting like women. And it is not because they're doing it on their own. It's because of the program that has gotten them into competition mode, because competition is a male thing. That comes from male nature. That's not the nature of a woman. But how did women begin to compete? Well, what did they do? They took women's rights to provide for themselves and made them compete for males who hoarded the artificial resources, because nature provides all of the resources. But currency is a byproduct of nature's resources that were hoarded by men. Black men didn't create the system. White men did. But black males acquiesced to it just like everybody else. So everybody is out. Every man for himself. Every man for himself, that's male nature, because y'all were designed to compete against each other to pass your genes along. Y'all are not communal. But
all right, so let's start right there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to preface it with a question. Do you feel that men have the urge to breed more so than women have the urge to birth?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, I think it was in Genesis where they're like, if we're going biblical, they're like, here, God created man and let him be fruitful. So therefore, we were put on this earth to technically multiply. Technically, would you say?
No. That's Abrahamic religions are patriarchal religions, which are anti-natural. So the whole system of patriarchy was set up for the elites to take control of the planet. In order to take control of the planet, they needed to use the male body to do it. The male has no value outside of his physical strength. So what they did was they bred you like dogs, like horses. That's what they did. And then they made you go die in their wars, right? They put you in a draft, and they used y'all's bodies to fight for them to control everything. Now, we can deny that, but it's right in front of everybody's face. And then after you got out of the war, what did they give you? They didn't give you anything.
Not a damn thing.
Especially if you was a black man, they didn't give you nothing.
Not a damn thing. Not a damn thing. And then, you know what? And I'm going to stop, because I think I'm probably an hour and a half into this live. Maybe I'm not, but let me just say this. Literally. So this is the first video that I saw of her, and it confirmed what I knew I was seeing. It confirms what I knew I was seeing. And I just got pulled into this message, because freedom is in understanding. Now, what you do with the information is yours, but it is understanding. But I'm gonna hit it back.
Right? You couldn't even get the GI Bill, but they used your body, right? Right? So of course, they wanted to breed men, right? Use women as baby-making machines and breed males under a patriarchal system and programmed everybody to believe that man was God. So now you say, this is our purpose and you have to do this. So they got the woman physiologically and psychologically and through law and law enforcement to create the problems that we have in the world right now. Now you can't tell men that because patriarchy makes men feel needed, valued, and wanted, even though it's the very system that causes all of the males' problems today.
Now, growing up, you know, and this is just my observation, probably a lot of guys here, most women kind of control the way men move. Like if you're young and like a girl sees something like, let's say, quote unquote, a thug or a bad kid, and she's like, oh, I like bad guys, you know what I'm saying? And a guy says, oh, I like this girl, but she likes the bad guy. I'm trying to play within the rules, but she likes a guy who plays outside the rules. So that guy who's technically good may start playing outside the rules just for the love or lust of a woman. So, and I see like when it comes to fashion, when it comes to dressing and hygiene, you know, men only probably will take care of themselves, but they do it for women. It's like, hey, I'm trying to pursue this girl, I'm trying to smell good, I'm trying to do this. But so y'all are kind of driving force. Now, if and this again, it's just me speaking. If you guys are a driving force, and of course, you know, we do a lot of things on y'all, and you, of course, you speak on patriarchy. Do you feel like in this society where survival of the fittest, we are surviving technically to, like you said, to breed, to make sure we have children, we lay our seed, we move on, move forward. But wouldn't you say that's technically the way human nature should be as far as men should pursue women? Women should then breed and therefore keep our genealogy going or keep our, you know, family existence going, you know, big families, my kids are here versus having just no kids or only one child. A man should want to have 9, 10 kids.
Well, see, here's the thing. Male brains are different from female brains. And because of this difference, you all see life differently and you have different purposes. The female purpose is not the male purpose. You all are hardwired to try to survive. Y'all are trapped in survival of the fittest. The female is not by nature. She don't have to do all that to pass her genes along. And y'all are not doing things for women. Y'all are doing things because of women. Y'all are programmed, and a lot of males hate the fact that women have so much sexual power over y'all. The thing is, the average woman don't know to the extent that she's powerful. She don't know because patriarchy has conditioned her to give up her power to men. So she don't know how much influence she has. Y'all know, they don't. And so women can't, quote unquote, choose properly because of so many other things. Now, it's important for people to understand the biological importance of everything because all of this starts with the biology. The first thing is humans, all life, it doesn't matter whether it's a protozoa, it doesn't matter if it's a rat, dog, everything. One of the characteristics of determining if something is a living organism or not is if it responds to environmental stimuli. All right, so, and this has something to do with the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. It's an automatic response that's unconscious to the organism in the certain environment. So what patriarchy has done is created different environments going up like that. Yep. So people in the lower echelon are responding to environmental stimuli differently than up because the environments are different. And then when you keep women out of the knowledge of themselves and men, see, you got a bunch of books on pimping, right? Pimping Ken, you got Iceberg Slim. They know the nature of a woman because they've been studying women. Women don't know the nature of a man. They have no clue, right? So you have...
Back to what I'm saying, how do you keep people enslaved? By withholding information. With even the books, Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Even the books that are out there about men are from men. Like it just totally blew my mind that I've gone through 54 years of life and never understood or learned. Now, I will say my closest, I guess, male friend that I have at one point was my life partner. He would tell me, and, he's from Chicago, so he knew the game, understood the game, and would point out, oh, that's game, baby. Whether it was from business stuff that I'm signing up for, network marketing stuff that I'm signing up, whatever I'm signing up, he'd be like, oh, that's game. That's just game. They just doing that to keep you paying them. I never learned the game. And one of the things that he explained was that you, in the area you grew up, you were not surrounded by that kind of predatory behavior. So you don't know how to recognize it. That's one of the things I see now. But this conversation never happened with he and I until I got Princella. And the first of all the people I forwarded this video to, I sent it to him. And he came back, he said, oh, she is 100% right. She knows the game. She's been around. She knows, and that's a lot coming from him because I've shared various things to him. And one thing about him is he's going to tell you the truth. It might hurt your feelings and everything else, but he's going to go and give it to you. And so at the end of the day, like I knew from in my gut, this was the real deal. But then when he confirmed it from a male's perspective, because one of the things I'll say as women is we are forever looking to women for a male's perspective. And there was a movie years and years ago. As a matter of fact, that'd be great to do online. I don't know if we can, because I think we might get a copyright hit on it. But it's called He's Just Not That Into You. That is a great movie for women to watch, because what that movie is saying basically and showing you is how delusional, how we tell ourselves things to make us do it. Like I told you about the sexual assault at Massage Envy. I talked myself into staying in and staying in that room the first time and going back that I talked myself into that because my gut was like, that comment wasn't quite right. That, I don't know. That didn't fit. Something wasn't right about that. No, don't profile. I got jacked one time, mugged, whatever the word is, by somebody who looked, to me, looked similar to who could have been my son, right? And I literally, when he walked up on me, I initially jumped. And then I was like, "Ooh, don't profile. That's how somebody might feel about your son, or whatever." And then I'll be dang if he didn't jack me. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, we talk ourselves. And so we can't protect ourselves for trying to protect them. So now I'm saying, let's change the game. Let's protect ourselves first and let them show themselves approved as our protectors. And let us decide who our protector is based on their action and not based on their position. Okay. And that's, if there's no more message out of this whole thing from my standpoint, that is it. Welcome, Lala. Yeah, that's it. Like we don't recognize when we are being the prey. And one thing about it is understanding and listening to her message. You will have those tools. And for me, if there's nothing else, if I got nothing better to do on a holiday than to sit here and eat my barbecue and share this message with other people, I'd rather do that all day long for free than to have another woman hurt, another woman come up missing on public transit. Yeah. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Lala, that happened. But it's happening to us. And so when we stay quiet, we don't tell other people. And we have to recognize that who we're being told by our parents, by history, by society, by the church, by TV, that these are our protect, which is interesting. I don't really watch media, but really on TV, if you watch it, they want you to be afraid of black men in general. And we know that that's not true, because the majority of people that we're dealing with are pretty much safe. They're not necessarily attacking us and jacking us. So we know. So what happens is we try to discount all of it, but it all doesn't need to be discounted. We need to understand that we have to be our protectors, and we need to dismantle all these little paradigms that are there telling us otherwise. And we need to quit talking ourselves out of what we feel. And the information that she provides helps with that. It just confirms so much to where you can have the confidence to trust what you're seeing is not right.
You have people in the know, in a messed up environment, and people who are totally blind, making decisions on ignorance. But y'all put the responsibility on them in their ignorance, but y'all know the power that they have. And men don't want women to know the truth, right? And that's where I come into play.
Oh, okay. Queenmaker.
Yeah.
So you mentioned pimps.
Yeah.
What do you feel is about pimps that they learned of a woman? You know what I'm saying? Is it because sometimes it's without any physical, interaction. Sometimes it's just basically telling them something. It's psychological. What do you see about pimps that what they do that works on women, that preys on women? Like what is it about them?
Well, it's a bunch of game. It's a bunch of game and understanding that most of the things, the people that you target are in need, right? When you target somebody and find their weaknesses, right? And you use those weaknesses to your advantage, here's the thing, a wolf in sheep's clothing knows what clothing to wear, right? And they study that person. And a lot of women don't understand that this manosphere, like the red pill, that ain't nothing but watered down pimp game. That's all that is. But they don't know no better because they ain't study pimping, right? They ain't study none of this. They too busy putting on makeup. They too busy watching Housewives of Atlanta. They don't even understand the driving nature of a male to even pursue them. And they don't even know to the extent that a male will jump through hoops and doing all kind of others just to run a temporary game on her just to get what they don't have a clue. Right.
All right.
You're giving me a lot of madam energy.
Madam. Hey, look.
Okay, I'm gonna bust in right here because she said something really interesting right there. That we as women don't understand the degree to which a man will go through all of these hoops in order to run temporary game. And so at the beginning of this stream, I shared that in 2016, after my divorce, I ran across a guy. It was my first time back into dating. Had no clue this whole manosphere, this whole thing out here where these are places men can go. And I don't know that Kevin Samuels is as big about that. He's hard on women, but just from what I've seen, I need to watch more of his stuff. But Andrew Tate, definitely. And there are some others, but they're out that teach men how to prey on women. Like literally teach men how to prey on women. I didn't know that. And so I had a guy who I was coaching. He was attending one of my coaching shops. And one day after, he also was a counselor. He had his degree in psychology and he did counseling or whatever for other people. So we were talking about as he was moving into, deciding what he was going to do with his career. And we had, kind of had a little bond or whatever where we talk about different things. And I shared with him what happened. And what happened with this guy, I really liked him, met him out. We would go, we may have drinks or whatever. Really nice guy. Very, what I would consider to be masculine. Huge guy. I don't know, 6'6" or something, big guy, nice looking, nice build, Texas cowboy, boots and the whole thing, and what did I see in him? Because it wasn't that he was that attractive. It was protection. I was now alone. I was divorcing a husband who was stalking me and was threatening my life. I was afraid. And I saw protection. And so he comes in, and he, you know, of course, being who I was, which I now know is not a good idea, I shared everything I was going through in the divorce. And, oh, I got you. I'm protected. So he was there all the time and whatever. I think, as a matter of fact, it was Labor Day, 16? I guess it was 2016 Labor Day. He comes over to the house. I didn't have a grill, you know, or whatever, because I didn't cook outside. He goes and buys a brand new, you know, barbecue grill, comes over, cooks us all this stuff, just everything. I'm like, whoo, I have met the love of my life. Whoo, this is it, you know. And shortly after that, it became, you know, can I borrow this? Can I borrow that? Little bitty stuff. Like, you know, I don't know. Can you just run and pick up my clothes from the cleaners? Because he was a business owner. So I'm not going to be able to get over there in time. I'm coming from out of town and blah, blah. Okay, I'll run and do it. $60, $100, whatever it was. So here I am doing all of those things and happy to do it because this man is showing up. He's bringing food, he's cooking, he's doing. And if I tell you, by the time I got through being played on that wheel, the protector became the predator. And that is what I'm like, if I can save one more woman from going through this. And the bad thing about it, now I do believe he was cluster B, which is either narcissist or sociopath or both. Typically all sociopaths are also narcissists. So, but it's not necessarily the other way around. I do believe he's both. But now I hate to even use those terms anymore, even though I have videos talking about those, because when we dismiss that, yes, la bait, yes, the bait and switch. I didn't know that existed. You know, I have been married pretty much since I was 19, you know, so I went from marriage, breakup, you know, divorce, married again, divorce. I wasn't I'll go to the club, I wasn't that person. So I hadn't been out in there to learn all that. But this guy, his name was Rod, love Rod to death. Rod was like, look, this is game. This is this. You didn't know? That's what they do now. This is the new thing. So that kept me from falling for that again. But what I didn't realize, because again, he's a narcissist. He triangulated me. He did this. He love bombed me. You know, so again, that's dismissing and still keeping this all men are protectors unless they're a narcissist. All men are this, you know, they are provider unless they're a narcissist. No, it's the majority or not. They don't have to be a narcissist. They are built this way. And so anyway, now let's go back to let Princella finish her on that.
One of my pimp friends told me, say, Princella, why don't you just be a madam? That ain't my thing. Yeah.
What would you say about they say a woman can't control her emotions?
Wait. I gotta pause.
Do you believe that's true?
Pause. Okay. Her friend said, why don't you just be a madam? Why is that? Because again, that is a man. Well, this is a pimp. She did say a pimp friends, but that is a man saying, why don't you just abuse women, use and abuse women? Why don't you exploit women? Like, why don't you figure out how you can make money on prostituting women? Or, you know what I like that just, this is just not, you know, this is how men think. The majority. She's going to talk about that.
Yes and no. Okay? Because you've heard the saying, mind over matter, right?
Yep.
So that means if you tap into the mind space, you have the ability to control the body. But you got to be able to tap into the mind space. The problem is women don't have the knowledge to even tap into the mind space to control their emotions. They have no earthly idea that the emotions that they feel actually come from seminal fluid. They don't understand how strong seminal fluid is and how it physiologically changes their body and their mentality.
Oops, sorry.
What is that you're saying? Seminal fluid. Explain that.
Seminal fluid? Okay, so you have two parts of ejaculation. You got the semen and then you got the sperm. The sperm is what fertilizes the egg. And that's only like 5% of seminal fluid. The other semen, this is a whole chemical concoction that actually comes from the male's brain down his spine. And this actually alters women's physiology, right? And it brings down their DNA defenses, right? Which makes them more emotional. And it also triggers, every time a male has sex with a woman, it triggers that oxytocin to come out. By women not understanding the nature and the biology of a man, if they understood that and tapped into the mind space, they could control more of how they respond to men. But because they don't know that, they are totally subjected to the physiological changes that happen when they come in contact with seminal fluid.
So,
and as a woman, like I can't think of how many times the hardest thing to do, even a narcissist, even someone that you know has no good for you, the hardest thing to do is to leave them alone if you're having unprotected sex with them. And I never realized, like, in my case, these are husbands. I never realized why it was so difficult to make that decision. I thought it was because God, or because church, or because it's wrong. But I mean, after a couple divorces, after that, look, I can't make anything much worse there. It wasn't. It is a biological change that keeps us connected there. And then our thinking is messed up, and men know this. Men know this. They are taught this. It's amazing. Yes, me too, Lala. Amazing.
If a man has intercourse with a woman, he's breaking down her barriers?
Yes.
But that's technically the natural order of things.
No, it's not the natural order thing.
Oh.
No, it's not.
Oh.
It's not, right? This is something that the woman would have to allow under natural circumstances. Remove patriarchy, remove all of the laws, law enforcement, remove propaganda, remove all of the music and everything. Under natural circumstances, the majority of women would reject the majority of males, and the majority of males would have money, status, or fame, or any of that. And so now you would be totally dependent upon your genetic viability. And the majority of males would not make it. And if you bring this up to a higher level humanistic way of thinking, even if you looked at the top male, right, that male would get the privilege of being around the majority of women. And the weak male who couldn't elevate, who couldn't show that he was mentally powerful, disciplined, he would fail. He wouldn't make it, right? And that's just a reality of it. And what's happening right now is that the population is overloaded. The grid is overloaded. And a lot of males who were supported by patriarchy when they gave men women are getting their rights now. And the artificial mechanisms are falling. And a lot of these dudes who were given things ain't giving it no more, and they can't function in a competitive environment. They don't know how to do it, and they're upset, they're mad, because they feel entitled to jobs, they feel entitled to promotion, they feel entitled to sex, they feel entitled to family. But men ain't supposed to be given nothing. The male's ultimate nature and job is survival of the fittest. He either survives or he dies. Too many people are trying to protect the male from his ultimate nature. Sink or swim.
What about the woman that just wants to have sex?
Well, listen, I tell them like this.
So look, like it floors me. And nothing, I mean, this is a man doing the interview. Like, she dropped gold And he couldn't even respond to it. It's like, well, what about the women who just want to have sex? Like, let's redirect, because that's where their mind oftentimes is. But she is really dropping gold. And one of the things that she points out that I really want to hit, because I talked about the assault of women that, you know, that we endure over and over and over at the hands of men. And the people we need to be protected from are men. And so we think we're getting this person to protect us from that, and they end up being the predator, you know, at the end, all too often. Not all the time, but all too often. But the point that I was going to say, when she's talking about, you know, men were given women, it shouldn't have been that. There should only be certain men that even have access, when they can elevate to a certain mindset, to even have access to women. That, and I think she's going to go into that a little deeper here in a second. So I'm going to let her do that. But that theory alone would protect women from a lot of the predators, because they wouldn't even be able to get in the room. They wouldn't even get into the communities. And that is what she's teaching. And it's powerful. It's powerful.
My message ain't for concubines and slaves. Everybody is. Some people got to be slaves. Some people got to be concubines. And some of these women do need to service them. But we have to always understand that everybody is operating outside of a natural, a true natural way. We're all responding to this artificial environment. Everybody is.
That is facts. What do you feel if, let's say, you know, sex wasn't recreational? Mm-hmm. If it wasn't like where you could just do it and, you know, get your rocks off and go from there, like you, basically it wasn't pleasurable.
Right.
It was more so, hey, we're gonna do this, you gotta have a baby, or we're only doing this to make children. Do you feel like we'll all be operating on better frequencies if it wasn't so pleasurable just to have meaningless sex?
Well, for women, it's not quote unquote just pleasurable. A lot of women have sex even when they don't want to have sex, but it's pleasurable for men. So I can't see it being any other way. I can't see it being another way, because for y'all, it literally triggers the reward system in y'all's brain. Like y'all's brains fire up and it makes you want to do it more and more, right? That's not the way it happens with women. You know what I mean?
You believe every man is like that?
99% of them.
Wait. How many women do you feel don't enjoy sex? Like you make it seem like it's a task.
Well, it is. I mean, look at the divorce rates. I mean, listen.
Well, no, divorce is normally for money.
No.
It's not. Why'd you get married if sex wasn't a part of?
No.
Like,
Trust. See, that's the problem. Men do not listen to women. Y'all don't. Women be talking and talking and talking, and all over the globe you hear this, like, sex is a chore. Sex is a chore. You even had this dude. You remember when the spreadsheet came out? When he made that spreadsheet for every time his wife denied him sex, because he kept asking.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
This is typical in marriages. I mean, that's typical. And women keep saying that because it's not as pleasurable for them as it is for y'all. Look.
So when you say it's communication is the problem then?
No, it's no.
Because a woman will say this. A woman will say this. There's steps to get me to want to have sex. There's certain things you have to do to kind of. I'm an oven. You're a microwave. You have to preheat me. And then I'm ready. Men are microwave. They just turn on and let's go. It may not be the time you want to go, but again, there is a process for women to actually enjoy it.
Yeah, and
men don't have time to wait. Yeah,
see, men are selfish, and so y'all just want to get your penis wet and then go to sleep. Then you want her to make you a sandwich after not caring about heating up the microwave, right?
That sounds pretty good.
I know it sounds good. I know it sounds good. You a male, man.
That sounds pretty nice.
So here's the thing. Women keep saying this, but here's the thing. There is an inverse relationship between men and women. Men and women aren't compatible. Just because y'all genitalia fit, that don't make y'all compatible. Galileo said you cannot teach a man anything. You can only help him find it within himself. Everybody know who Galileo is, right? Mark Twain said it takes much to convince the average man of anything, and probably nothing will ever make him realize that he's the average woman's inferior. Y'all have something in y'all's brain that prevents y'all from listening. Y'all take commands. This is why the military handle y'all the way they handle you. You go do this, do that. That's how y'all operate. Y'all don't listen. So even with women talking and telling you, it still don't register.
But that's not every man. That's just, I feel like that's not every man. That's just that's just like a high percentage of man, but not every man is built like
well,
that.
I never said 100% of anything. You know, if you into math, you know, you have this thing called the standard deviation curve, right? Standard deviation curve is basically a distribution, standard distribution of a sample population. So in the middle of this bell curve, you have 68.2% of the population that is average, okay, the median. That's the majority of people. So if you take 68.2 of the majority of the people and then you go backwards, baby, it's 80-something% of just a standard population that's average and below.
As a CPA with a master's in accounting, I approve this message.
The average male is average and below. All of y'all got testosterone, every last one of you. And testosterone has an effect on y'all's brains. The majority of y'all are the same. And all of y'all do the same thing, every last one of you. Well, that ain't all of them. That's just the men you know. I ain't like that. All of y'all think like that. So who the hell is the bad people? Because I'm going to get the same answer from all y'all.
Okay. All right, I'm feeling what you're saying. But I do the same thing to a female the same way that you're doing to a man, right? So give me a solution. What is a solution for a woman? If she's in that situation and she doesn't want to have sex, but the man keeps making her have sex, but she continues to do it. She continues to make him a sandwich after he knocks her down. What's the solution?
Okay. No action comes without a preceding emotion, right? You can only do what you know. People do what they know, okay? The problem is women don't know better. Y'all even heard this before yourself. A man will only do what you allow him to do.
I've heard that.
All right. So, if women allow men, which means she submit, all right, and allow him to lead, she don't have no control over what he's going to do. She's steady submitting to him. Women have to change their minds and realize that they ain't supposed to submit to men because men just going to do what you allow them to do. Because they don't have no governor on their own behavior to know when to not do something, to know better. They don't know. They're just going to keep being reckless. And they're not going to take care of your feelings because they're only concerned about theirs. So the solution is to change women's mind and stop looking at men as leaders and take her natural position as leader and govern male's behavior since he ain't going to govern it himself.
Okay, all right, let's do it like this then. Let's do it like this. So you're speaking of being, you know, of course, the dominant and the submissive. You're saying in a relationship, let's just say outside of patriarchy, just in a relationship, just a man and a woman trying to do this thing the right way. A woman should be the dominant and a man should be the submissive. That's what you're talking about.
Y'all follow commands. You go do. You go do. And she gonna tell you what to do. Because here's the thing, if y'all don't have somebody telling y'all what to do, y'all are going to be reckless. And so women are divorcing y'all in these relationships because they are allowing you to quote unquote lead, and they're being submissive, and since y'all can't lead yourself, y'all leading her into the ground. So here's the thing, the natural order is for the feminine to be the leader. If you give to the feminine, right, the feminine is always going to regenerate life and everybody's going to be taken care of. Y'all are territorial. Y'all just want the image of leadership. You just want to be out in public. I'm the leader, but all of the responsibility is actually on the woman. The leader takes the majority of the responsibility. Now, I think I'm qualified to speak on leadership because I was commissioned as an officer in the Army. And I went to Army Officers Logistics, Army Logistics University out there in Fort Lee. And I got my commission as an officer. And let me tell you something. When I was a buck private, the government took care of everything. They bought my uniforms, bought my shoes. They told me where to go, this, that, and the other one. When I crossed over to officer, I was on my own. No support from the Army. It was all on me. And then I had to sign for all of my platoon's equipment. I was responsible for all their stuff. The male don't want to be responsible for nobody, not even himself. He wants to blame her for everything and then say, I'm the leader. Baby, if you the leader, it's all on you. It's you. And if you can't control your behavior, which the majority of y'all can't, then let that woman lead, since all the responsibility is on her anyway.
So would you say that women...
Okay, I'm going to pause right there and hit on that, because that hits home. And really, growing up, when you think about families or exposure to families, if you weren't in one that operated this way, the home was handled by the woman. So even though we were a Christian family, and there was the husband who was the head of the house. So in church, he was the head, and, out like that, at home. So I even think about my father, and, he could fuck up some stuff. I'm talking about for real. But my stepmother took care of. Now, my dad was a provider, though. He was a provider. And I would probably say a physical protector for my stepmother when he was there. But outside, again, like I'm saying, outside of that physical presence, you're not protecting. If you're over here with Missy and whoever, and she's home alone, you're not being a protector in that moment for your wife and your child. But anyway, the point is, if you think about it, she wrote the bills, she paid stuff, she set up life insurance, she did all these things. And it wasn't until she was gone and passed away that it became exposed that he didn't even know who the light company was or who any of that was. And I think that's common. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because that's why they were able to be married 50 years. That's why. Because she was controlling it. Wrong or right, whether I agreed with how she did it or not, she was controlling it, and it kept it. So when I say that what Princella preaches on, it's consistent with what I've seen in situations where I see the man controlling it. It is chaos. It is chaos. There's other women calling the house, other women coming to the house. There's you got all kind of stuff. You got your man's friend coming, attacking your wife, the wife of, you bringing all that in the house. That's stuff that happens when the man is leading. Those are things that happen. You are not even protecting, because you're over here drunk and your friend trying to come on to your wife. You're not even protecting your household to keep this animal outside of your household. And I'm not talking about what I know or what I heard. Oh, it's what I heard because it wasn't me. But this is real stuff. I'm not making up examples. This is real life stuff that's happening to real women. And so at the end of the day, what she's talking about, like I said, I'm not saying everybody has to believe it or own it or do something about it. But I think it will stretch your mind, because when you get information, one thing about information is you can't unhear it. You can't unhear it. And once you hear it, even though you might push back, once you hear it, you will see it if it is truth. Once you hear it, you will see it if it is truth.
And when it comes to controlling behavior, can act on emotions in the heat of the moment.
No, I'm sorry. Actually, let me tell you something about responsible for nobody, not even himself. He wants to blame her for everything and then say, I'm the leader. Baby, if you the leader, it's all on you. It's you. And if you can't control your behavior, which the majority of y'all can't, then let that woman lead, since all the responsibility is on her anyway.
So would you say that women, when it comes to controlling behavior, can act on emotions in the heat of the moment?
No, actually, let me tell you something about women and men's brains. We all have something called the orbital frontal cortex that exists in the prefrontal cortex, okay? The orbital frontal cortex controls behavior, it controls impulse, it controls emotions. The woman's orbital frontal cortex is larger than her amygdala, which is where emotions come from. The male's orbital frontal cortex is smaller than the woman's and smaller in relation to his amygdala. Y'all have a chemical called testosterone in your brain that once it rises, it cuts off the orbital frontal cortex's job, which renders y'all impulsive. You're not able to control your anger and your behavior, right? So women are more emotionally expressive, men are more emotionally reactive. Now, when I get to talking about science, a lot of people tend to shy away from that. But if we're going to be facts, let's go to the factual things that are indisputable. Men cannot control their emotions. They can't control it. Hence why you have people going to schools, shooting up the schools. You have domestic violence, and you got men literally just killing themselves, right? Women have more control over their emotions. The only thing that differs between you and women is males know more about women than women know about men. And because of this level of ignorance, she's making decisions off of emotion. But if you put this woman in the know, everything changes.
So you're 37, right?
Yes.
37. I'm sure you've seen the movie I'm Gonna Get You Sucker.
You know what? I have, but I don't even remember it because I was so young.
I'm gonna say one part, where a lady was leaving work and a dude was bugging her, and she flipped out, going crazy on him, and she blamed it on cramps. So they were jokingly talking about a woman becoming president, saying, "Hey, if she's too young, she still gets her period." That moment right before her menstrual cycle starts. It's like, biologically, it's like emotions come from cramps, from frustration of dealing with this biologically. Do you feel that's not real? That will happen like in real life, in the real world scenario?
No. I never said that we don't have emotions and things that go on physiologically. We all do. What I'm saying is mind over matter. You all have seen wushu martial artists. You've seen what they can do with their body. Mind over matter. What's going on with you chemically has less impact if you have a wise mind and know things. What I am saying is this: when you put women in the know, when you make them intelligent and you put them on game, the decisions and behavior changes. Men depend on women being dumb, right? Which is why they want young chicks who are impressionable, like old boy said on that.
Some men.
Yeah.
The other men may not want.
No, the majority. Seriously, because men are predators by nature. Y'all hunters, predators. Y'all have to get resources. Y'all fight for resources. You compete for resources. And however you get your resources, you're going to pluck the easiest one. So the more docile and the more ignorant and naive a particular prey is, the easier it is for you to get your hands on it. When you put women in the know, it makes it more difficult. Men don't want difficult stuff. A lot of them are lazy. They don't like challenges, right? They want it easy. So let's just keep it a buck, because you got these dudes who don't have no social skills. They ain't the most attractive. You don't think that they are jealous of the guy that actually appears to get things easy, right? Everybody like microwave stuff, right? But if you can get your needs met for low cost, who ain't gonna do it? The majority of people will. And I know male nature and what they need. And they need that little thing between these women's legs. And they gonna get it the easiest way they can.
Oh, man. All right. You mentioned the military.
Okay. On that, I'm going to pause for this one. I know because we have crossed the 2-hour point. I'm going to pause. I will come back with part 2 on this. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you are getting exactly what I got when I first saw her. And as I said, the High Power Podcast, definitely you can go follow her. This is also available on that page. I think this one is specifically under Real Life Street Stars. Let me pull it up so you can see, because if you want to go finish watching it and you have that time, you can go ahead and go finish. This is just part 1 of many that they're even showing. And but you can go to the High Powered Podcast. Let me go over here and pull that up and give. Well, I want it on YouTube. Am I typing it in the wrong place? I am. There we go. That way I can get you here, and then you can just go, and if you've not subscribed to her already, you can go subscribe in here. This More Truth is amazing. If you haven't seen that, this is where she gets into the Farrakhan thing. So I will probably tap into that a little bit. We're not going to watch the whole thing. This is pretty much the one. You can see the outfit. This is the one that I'm on part 1, but she has multiple parts of it on her page as well. So you can definitely go over there. And whether you are going to come back and watch it with me, if you're somebody who follows me, either way, it's just, to me, it's just more important that you get the information so that you can be empowered to live your best life and live in your freedom. I love you, smooches. Have a great rest of the Monday, or I guess I don't know when you'll be watching this. Have a great one. Be blessed.